this is Jenna Burt, host of the Confessions of a Military Spouse podcast. Thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media.
Hi, this is Peggy Rojas, host of Viviendo una Vida en Balance here at Public House Media. Thanks for listening to the following broadcast on Public House Media. Once you're done with this episode, I hope you can come back and check my show, Viviendo una Vida en Balance, where we talk about life hacks to live a life in balance. And this show's in Spanish. A new show comes out every Monday, so don't forget to subscribe on iTunes and share with your friends. Again, thank you for checking out the following broadcast in Public House Media.
Everyone, it's No Filter Friday again, and what do we have around here? Problems and tea. Why? Because I came home amidst this torrential downpour that we're having in Los Angeles, and unbeknownst to me, my power went out today, and I had to try to sit down and do this show without a working internet modem, and it turns out that's difficult. So I had to reset everything, and it was trash. It was trash. So now we have tea. We got tea for our problems, basically. So I'm going to take a minute to share the show, because that's what we do around here. We share. Otherwise, I wouldn't do this show live, because, without you, it's no fun. It's no fun unless the homies can have some. And the infinite wisdom of Snoop Dogg. You all know this. Post. Dunsies. Okay, great. Oh, goodness. Thank you for waiting, David Bobke. You're the best. I don't know what I would do without you, honestly. But yes. Turns out, your power going out doesn't really do good things for your internet modem. I didn't really know that. Now I know that. Now I know that. I'm a changed person from this creep up power outage, basically. And I feel like a more whole person, essentially. Anyway, this week has been like one thing after another, y'all. Outside of the prolific flooding. See, yeah, David Bobby, power outage and internet, not a good couple. They're not. They're bad. They're toxic for each other. It doesn't work. And they go back to each other. It's terrible. It's a terrible abusive relationship. Anyway. This week has been one of the most epic update weeks of Me Too, I think, in my opinion. First of all, Bill Cosby is, last week we talked about Bill Cosby getting moved to general population, right? He, ha, ha, ha. Great. That was all well and good. Well, this week he said that he was not sorry, and then he compared himself to Gandhi and Martin Luther King, but we're going to get into that later. And then Aziz Ansari's been he's been doing stand-up, but not like regular stand-up. He's been doing like one night only like events, which, cool, whatever. And he finally talked about his Me Too situation, like a year later, something like that, because we covered Aziz Ansari way back when. So we'll get into that at some point. I feel like that was at least a year ago, dude. It had to have been, because I know it was on both of my like year in review shows. I know Aziz was on both of those. So it's been a while. So he finally addressed that. And then Bill Cosby, Aziz. Oh, this is the juiciest one, in my opinion. So, Julia's here. Hello, Julia. In my opinion, the juiciest update. It's delicious. It's delectable. It's by far my favorite. They haven't made an announcement that Bryan Singer is not directing Red Zone yet. That's not what happened. What had happened is that Millennium Films has taken Red Sonja off their slate completely. So I don't know what's up with that officially, but I smell suspicion. I smell suspicion. I can feel it. It's like spidey senses, but not. So the fact that Avi Lerner went so hard for Bryan Singer, not once, but twice, like back to back, basically like 2 weeks of ride or die for Bryan Singer. Turns out Avi Lerner is no longer riding or dying because he doesn't even own that car anymore. He doesn't know anything about it. So Red Sonja's off the books, kids, which would lead you to believe that maybe something else has happened. Interesting. So let's but the big story is that the big story in the media, let me rephrase that, is Ryan Adams dangled success. Women say they paid a price. Several women say Adams offered to jumpstart their music careers, then pursued them sexually, and in some cases retaliated when they spurned him. He denies the claims. Okay, well, that's like an all well and good story or whatever, but what I know is way crazier. Like, this dude, Mr. Ryan Adams, I was like, who? Because I heard about him a little while ago, and I was like, who? They're like, yeah, the singer Ryan Adams. I'm like, I don't know anything about that. You know, supposedly he's a big deal. I'm not a big music person, so I guess some of these people just slip through the cracks with me. But, okay, fine. Ryan Adams, whatever. So that's a story that came out in the media. But what I've been hearing, oh, Brittany's here. Hello, Brittany. What I've been hearing for weeks now is way nastier than this article that the New York Times put out. And, you know, since the New York Times has come out, you know, lots of, you know, things have come up, which, you know, is fine. Whatever. What is going on with my hair? Oh my God, it's so ridiculous. Any hoozles. So, I don't feel like I think we should leave. Hang on. Ryan Adams is going to be like a long situation. So I already told you about Bryan Singer. You don't need to know anything else about that. But let's talk about MLK or Bill Cosby and the fact that he compared himself to Gandhi and Martin Luther King. Okay. Bill Cosby says he's not a political prisoner and feels no remorse. This is a very interesting article. I'm reading the one off Fortune. This came out on Valentine's Day yesterday. So, but I think the story broke, I don't know, a day or two before that. So this isn't the original one, but it's a good one. In his first statement since being sentenced to prison for drugging and sexually assaulting women, something that he had a real proclivity for, Bill Cosby says he has no remorse and feels like he is a political prisoner. I was declared not guilty in 2005 by the Commonwealth, never charged, said Cosby in a statement. However, a low-life district attorney and a corrupt judge needed me guilty now. For whatever reason, they capitalized guilty. Interesting. Not for justice, but for their political aspirations. Cosby spokesman Andrew Wyatt said in the interview that with NBC 10 that he frequently visits Cosby at the SCI Phoenix prison outside of Philadelphia, where the former TV personality wakes up before dawn to exercise, rinses his food to remove sodium. It's prison food. I don't think you can get the salt out of it. I'm pretty sure it's made out of salt, but that's his business. And enjoys chatting with the other inmates. Overall, Cosby apparently calls prison an amazing experience. This is the top. This is the bottom. The whole thing is crazy. Top to bottom. I told you he was going to be hit in prison. I'm sure they're very happy to have him, but still. Cosby, 81, sentenced to 3 to 10 years in prison. You all know that. We've talked about this ad nauseum. Last September for the 2004 assault of Andrea Constand, dozens of other women have come forward with similar allegations, but Cosby maintains he is innocent. He is attempting to appeal his sentence and has reportedly refused to attend courses required under the sexually violent predator designation. Still, according to Wyatt, Cosby has been prepared to go to prison not because he was guilty, but because he was persecuted because the prosecutor had a vendetta against him. Maybe we should call the prosecutor, kids. What do you think? I wonder if the prosecutor take my call. My political beliefs, my actions of trying to humanize all races, genders, and religions landed me in this place surrounded by barbed wire fencing. A room made of steel and iron, said Cosby in his statement, adding that his circumstances remind him of those of some of the greatest political prisoners, including Martin Luther King Jr., Mahatma Gandhi, and Nelson Mandela. Top, bottom, crazy all the way. Really? Seriously? Cosby and the generation of Fat Albert. Oh, goodness, no. Bill Cosby is just so interesting to me because before any of this, like, before Hannibal, like, really, really outed him, I've had Janice Dickinson as my, like, weird Hollywood aunt for a while because my actual answer, very, very normal. So I needed I had, like, an opening for a crazy Hollywood aunt, right? In rolls Janice Dickinson. And she has told me at length and at great detail how way back when they were all on Lake Tahoe, and just like everybody else has said, but she basically kind of said it first, her and Hannibal Buress, that she, like, not woke up, but, like, semi-consciously found herself on a couch with, like, one eye half open, and Bill Cosby's on top of her. And then they talk, she told me about how, like, it's in her book, but basically he threatened to sue her, and it was like they have this whole messy, nasty can of worms. And that was long before Andrea Constand came out and actually, took him to court, let alone got a conviction, let alone went to jail, or, as of last week, general population in said jail. I don't know, man. I've interviewed people around the world, and every single survivor of a sex crime that I know, interviewed, etc., their perpetrator, like, they were never, like, the single victim of a perpetrator. They're always not the first, not the last. Like, they're always, like, somewhere in the middle. So, I feel like sex crimes are kind of like deer. If you're driving down the road and you see a deer, there's not just one deer. He's got homies, for sure. So, considering that 30 women have accused him of this, like, I understand that old Bill's getting old and he's in his 80s and he's basically legally blind, but I think it'd be better for him to just not say nothing and just do his little prison time, because, like, he'll probably only stay in there for 3 years. If that. Again, I've said it before, I've said it a million times. The average time that a convicted sex criminal stays in jail is, like, less than 5 years. So, and that's not, legally blind and in their 80s. So he'll get out. He just tell some jokes in jail and chill is what he needs to do. But to compare yourself to Martin Luther King and Gandhi in the same breath, and Nelson Mandela, he'd throw that on there too. Oh my goodness. Like, seriously? For real though? For real? I can't. The tea is just too good this week. I don't even deserve all this. I do not even deserve all this tea to spill. Again, for the millionth time, the show writes itself. I don't have to do anything except have, like, eyes and ears, basically. Okay. All right, okay, so Aziz Ansari, like I just told you, he has addressed his, sexual allegations, finally in, not that he didn't, like, flat out not say anything before. Like, he did have a little rumblings, but nothing, not like a formal statement or anything. So this was from the 12th. Again, this week is it's just full of gems, man. Full of hashtag #MeToo gems. Aziz Ansari announced that he would be doing a self-described pop-up show in New York, aka I'm the only one on the ticket, one night only. But pop-up's a good buzzword, so I guess people are using that now. Upwards of 18,000 people signed up to try to get a seat. Ansari informed the roughly 200 people who made it on Monday night on stage at the Village Underground, the Comedy Cellar's second venue. That place is tiny. Why did he need a sign-up list? It only holds, it's like the same size as like the Hollywood Improv. It only seats, but like way cozier. Like it only seats 200 people. You don't need a sign-up list for that. As he's done with tours in the past, this show and the similar pop-ups he's done recently in Philadelphia and Washington, D.C. was designed to be a warm-up, a space for him to try out jokes and figure out how the material he's been working on will fit together. It will also likely be one of his last more off-the-cuff appearances before he embarks on a pretty extensive international tour this spring. A loose tone ran through the whole set, which was made up largely of the material that he's been reported on over the last few weeks. Who's reporting people's stand-up material that they're working out? I've never heard of this. It's kind of bizarre. This changed, however, when Ansari brought up the topic that it seemed everyone was wondering if he'd bring up. He began by saying that he loves being back in New York. He recalled a guy on the street telling him he loved his Netflix show, only to realize he was talking about Hassan Minhaj, Patriot Act? I don't know Hassan. He must be a New York comic. The guy quickly realized his mistake. Oh no, Aziz, right? Yeah, that's me. Master of None. Yeah, that's me. Parks and Rec? Yeah, that's me. Treat Yourself? Yeah, that's me. And you had the whole thing come out last year. Sexual misconduct? No. That's Hassan. Which sounds like a total Aziz joke. From there, Ansari sat down and his voice turned somber. He told the audience that there are two reasons he hasn't really talked about the whole thing, much referring to the story that came out last year on babe.net, which doesn't sound like a news site to babe.net. That doesn't sounds like a URL that Pornhub owns. Accusing him of sexual misconduct. First, he said he wanted time to process and determine what he wanted to say. Second, it was terrifying. I'm sorry that Jelly interrupts things. She's such a snorter dog. He wanted to process to determine and what he wanted to say. Second, it's terrifying to talk about. There were times I felt really upset and humiliated, embarrassed, and ultimately I felt terrible. This person felt this way. He continued, his voice wavering. But after a year, how I feel about it is, I hope it was a step forward. It made me think about a lot, and I hope I've become a better person. Ansari recalled a conversation in which a friend told him it made him rethink every date he's been on. If that has made not just me, but other guys think about this and just be more thoughtful and aware and willing to go that extra mile and make sure someone else is comfortable in that moment, that's a good thing. And I think it also just gave me perspective on life, Ansari added, pivoting to just how grateful he is for getting to perform comedy for a living. There was a moment, he said, where I was scared and that I'd never be able to do this again, he recalled. At the end of the show, he was always scream, "Thanks so much," but in truth, he didn't really mean it. It's just what you're supposed to say at the end of the show. But now I really mean it. I mean it on a different level, he said. You canceled whatever you were supposed to do tonight, and you came out into the cold, and you waited in line, and you put your phone in a stupid pouch, referring to the Yonder pouch that have become popular at stand-up shows. I've never seen that before, but I also don't walk in the front door, so maybe that is the thing people are doing. Keep the audience off their phones. You did all of this just to hear me talk for an hour and some change, and it means the world to me, so thank you so much. As far as has been reported, that's a weird sentence, okay. This was Ansari's first real attempt to address the allegations since his statement after the story initially came out. As with all the material he's tested, it's unclear if the statement will continue to appear in his act as he goes out on tour or if it will evolve. After a couple of callbacks, Ansari said goodnight and told the audience he'll be back for a proper show in the spring. What I thought, outside of the whole Me Too aspect of it, what I thought was really, people are commenting, hang on a second. And Earl! Oh my God, Earl, I haven't seen you in forever. And Jason came in. Jason's my homie. But anywho, what I was going to say is what I thought was really, really sweet is that he acknowledged the fact that we're all very privileged, to work in this industry and to be able to do it for a living, because a lot of people want to do it, and that's not necessarily doesn't happen for hardly anyone. And I think his little situation with this photographer chick happened kind of at like the height of Master of None, and I think maybe he was feeling himself a little bit too much. And I've run into that with dudes over time. They're like, oh yeah, I'm so great. Especially sports guys. Oh my goodness. They sometimes when people really get going on a show or really get going in a movie or, whatever it is that they do on, music, sports, whatever, that in their work environment, there's this army of people running around to satisfy their situation. And they forget that that's not really the case outside of their work environment. And those people are doing that mostly, A, it's because it's their job and it pays them, but B, film, television, whatever, this is all, whatever like entertainment medium you work in, it's all a collaborative effort. It takes all of these people to accomplish this. So I think people kind of forget that. Oh, and Britt came in. Hey, Britt. I think people forget that kind of thing, and that sucks. But it is true. We are all very privileged to work in this situation and have it be what we do for a living, and to just take audiences and whoever is in our presence for granted is a bad way to do business and go about your life, both. So I hope whatever message he had, like in these like articles that are coming about Aziz, I hope that reverberates the rest of the business and other businesses too, of like, just because you have X, Y, and Z at work doesn't necessarily mean it translates to people falling all over themselves for you outside of work. And if you're basing your self, like your actual self, upon your, occupation, you're going to have a bad time, But I thought it, like, as far as like people, single guys that have addressed their situation, although Aziz's was what they call a bad date, and the girl didn't go about it correctly either. She stayed anonymous. She put it on the babe.net and started off by saying that he ordered white wine when she prefers red. Like, if you've got meat and potatoes, you need to address the meat and potatoes and get there. Nobody wants an appetizer, basically. And she did it to be like, how dare you wear a Time's Up pin? Am I denying that they had a bad time together? Obviously they did. Not denying that, but they both missed the mark kind of hard. Luckily, it wasn't, the consequences and the stakes weren't terribly high. But 'twas rough. But I think as far as like single guys addressing their situation, this has got to go back over here. As far as like single guys go addressing their situation, I think he did it. I think he did it. I think he did a bang up job. And we all got a nice message on top of it, which is true and required, I think. So snaps for Aziz. Snaps for little homie Aziz. Okay, so here comes, this is the big kahuna, right? We got through Bryan Singer and Red Sonja, Bill Cosby, Aziz, now to this Ryan Adams nonsense. The New York Times put out this on February 13th, and seriously, I'm doing my show. I have the most rotten creatures in recorded history. I tell you what, it's ridiculous. They're so bad. All they do is bad stuff. That's all they do. They don't know how to do anything else. That's what God put them on this planet to do, is to be rotten. Besides my rotten animals. So I've been hearing about Ryan Adams for more than a minute, basically, because our friend Kate Quigley started dating him a while back. I think she met him on Raya. If you don't know what Raya is, it is a like an invite-only dating platform for celebrities. And Kate loves to date. She really, really, really does. Which is why she has a podcast called Date Fails, which her and Steven used to do together. Now she's off by herself doing it, and hilarity has ensued, basically. But another great podcast. I'll link to it somewhere. It's a really good podcast for those of you that are into that, like, dating thing. Even, like, outside of being in a relationship for 7 years. Like, I always said that I was a hater, not a dater. Just really not my scene. But it's other people's jams, and if it's your jam, you should definitely check out Date Fails. But with that being said, so, you know, we're always hearing these crazy dates that Kate is going on, whether like Jeremy Piven or Moby or, you know, any of these, you know, folks, basically. And a while back, she's like, yeah, I'm like dating this guy, or like we're trying to like have a relationship or whatever, but, you know, he's just a little bit different. He's like a different dude. And we're like, Kate, what does that mean? And she's like, well, he has like a room for like summoning Satan in his house. He's got like a pentagram on the floor with like candles and mirrors, and we were naked one time, and then he put me in front of the mirror and I tried to do this weird stuff, and like it spiraled out of control fast. And I'm like, all right, I get it. We have more than our fair share of satanic nonsense in this town. We do. I've seen it. I get it. It's there. I can't do anything about it. So it's going to, you know, basically it's going to continue to be there. Anyway, so why am I getting all these stupid notifications? Enough. Anyway, oh, Baxter's here and John McKenzie. Like, it's here. It just is. We got Satan's all up in this whole town. It's coated in Satan. I get it. I can't do anything about it. And it's not the first time that I've heard somebody's got some sort of like Pemaphet altar like in their house or something. Like, listen, Hollywood's a weird town, kids. It's a weird town. So it's like, okay, I've heard it. I've seen it. What now, Kate? And then it just gets like, that was the starting point. That was the jump off of different. That was just the starting point. And then things get stranger and stranger. All this manipulation and weird stuff, blah, 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 blah. So they stop dating because craziness. And then cut to a couple weeks ago, Kate finds another chick that Ryan Adams has dated. And they do Kate's podcast together. So she was this girl was a guest on Kate's podcast, and they just unpack both their collective backpacks on, you know, Mr. Summon Satan room, basically. And he like pulled all the same moves, which we talked about this a million times. They all do. And, you know, it was craziness. Like, Kate's like always operating at like a high level of crazy. That's her. But this one took it to another stratosphere. So they put the podcast out, and it starts going. It starts doing the numbers that it does. And then here comes Mandy Moore. Immediately, she likes Kate, or she follows Kate, and she follows this other chick. And she's just lurking. Mandy Moore is just lurking, basically, just on the creep up on both of their Instagrams. And I never thought I would say this in my life, but Mandy Moore made me nervous. And I was like, this is goofy. This is kind of strange. So I'm like, oh man, because that's his ex-wife. Like, oh man, Mandy Moore is gonna be mad. You know, you can't tell with these quiet ones. Like, she might fly off the handle or something. So I was kind of worried about it. And then, like, a day or two later, she DMs both of them, like, in a group chat. It's like, oh, I'm so happy that you talked about this. It's so easy to be manipulated by him. You know, just be happy that it was a short, you know, just a couple weeks or like a month or like whatever, like this short period of time. I was married to him. This happened to me for years, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, Lana got coned, y'all. Like, really? Seriously? I could, like, I can't with this town, man. I can't. It was, it's so bizarre. So anyway, after this is like racking up because Kate's sending us all of this, all these screen caps, basically. And I was like, oh my God, because she sent us when we were leaving lunch and like trying to get out of the parking garage, and I'm like reading Mandy Moore's thing and trying to drive. It was definitely illegal, but very much worth it. And we're like, okay, like we'll see what this happens. Never in a million years did I think, like, I knew it was bad, but like I didn't know the New York Times was going to put this out. So I already read you the headline. Go read it yourself. So we're gonna get into it. So that's what I already knew. So this is what the media is telling the public. So now you can see the gaps, which is the reason why I do the show. For nearly 2 decades, Ryan Adams, one of the most prolific singer-songwriters of his generation, has been heralded as a mercurial, creative genius and respected industry tastemaker. Equal parts punk rock, folk, hero, and romantic troubadour. Oh, Lord. New York Times, you guys are really getting it out today. Adams, 44, has 16 albums and 7 Grammy nominations to his name. He has overseen music by Willie Nelson, written a Tim McGraw hit, and recorded with John Mayer. No surprise John Mayer is in here somewhere. He has also taken a special interest in the trajectory of female artists, especially younger ones, championing, we've all heard this before, championing them on stage, across social media, and in the studio, where his stamp of approval can jumpstart careers. I don't think that's like, I always say, like, nobody around here can make you or break you, and like people can jock for you all day, but they can't make the public like your song or like you or whatever it is that you're doing. Some now say that Adams' rock star patronage masked a darker reality. We talked about the darker reality. You already know now. In interviews, 7 women and more than a dozen associates described a pattern of manipulative behavior in which Adams dangled career opportunities while simultaneously pursuing female artists for sex. In some cases, they said he would turn domineering and vengeful, jerking away his offers of support when spurned, and subjected women to emotional and verbal abuse and harassment in text and social media. The accounts have been corroborated by family members or friends who were present at the time, as well as by correspondence from Adams revealed by the New York Times. From a teenager living in a small town to his ex-wife, the singer and actress Mandy Moore, we've already talked about her, these artists said Adams exploited and then stifled their ambitions. Music was a point of control for him, Moore said. When Adams began corresponding online with a fan, Eva, in 2013, she was a 14-year-old bass player already forging a career. But their correspondence was about music, turned into graphic texting. Eventually, Ava said they conducted video calls on Skype where Adams exposed himself during phone sex. This man is out over here having phone sex with a 14-year-old. Lord have mercy. The Times has reviewed extensive communication between the two, including 3,217 text messages they exchanged over a 9-month period when Ava was 15 and 16. The Times is identifying Ava, now 20, by her middle name because she was a minor during their online relationship. They never met in person. And the text, Adams questions Ava repeatedly about her age, and sometimes she said she was older than she was. Though he did not seem convinced, their sexual conversations continued. I would get in trouble if someone knew we talked about this. Adams wrote to her in November 2014. Andrew B. Bretler, Adams' lawyer, said that the singer did not recall these exchanges. We're going to pause for a hot second here. Here's the thing about text messages at the current time that we're living in, especially if you have an iPhone. You can take those text messages and turn it into a searchable PDF. So these 3,200 text messages they have can get turned into a PDF, and you can search for words, fun ones like penis or boobs, and it will tell you on every page and every time these things were said. Goodness, these morons, they're morons, I tell you what. I think some of them want to get caught. In this case, y'all really do need Jesus, like seriously. Okay, back to the lawyer. Did not recall these exchanges. Mr. Adams unequivocally denies that he ever engaged in inappropriate online sexual communications with someone he knew was underage. If we had a dime on this show for every time somebody's lawyer unequivocally denies that he ever engaged in fill in the blank, we would be doing a way bigger show than me sitting here doing this. Anyway, that's besides the point. Though Butler Adams said that he did not have the power to make or break careers, which is true, he doesn't, and categorically denied the extreme, serious, and outlandish accusations in the Times reporting, Adams recalled interactions with the woman differently, his lawyer said, referring to some allegations as grousing by disgruntled individuals who blamed Adams for personal and professional disappointments and were now out to harm him. After this article was published online, Adams posted a series of tweets in which he apologized to anyone I've ever hurt, however, unintentionally, but he also continued to dispute the accuracy of the reporting. By the way, Stephen and Kate got blocked in this situation. So this is his first tweet. I'm not a perfect man and I've made mistakes. To anyone that I have hurt, however unintentionally, I apologize deeply and unreservedly. But the picture that this article paints is upsetting, inaccurate. Some of its details are misrepresented. Some of them are exaggerated. Some of them are outright false. Well, I mean, this is all pretty tame in comparison to what I know about him, but okay, sure. I would never have inappropriate interactions with someone I thought was underage, period. As someone who has always tried to spread joy through my music and life, hearing that some people believe I cause some pain saddens me greatly. I'm resolved to work to be the best man I can be, and I wish everyone compassion, understanding, and healing. From the pentagram on his floor. Anyway, whatever. It's just, like, isn't this tame in comparison to, like, what we already know? Like, oh, David Bobke. Hashtag no filter Friday. Definitely illegal, but very much worth it. I can't deny you that, David Bobke. I cannot deny you that. And you know what? I won't. I will not. Let's continue with this madness, shall we? With the album Heartbreaker and beloved songs like New York, New York, Adams became a solo star in the early 2000s. Even as he struggled with well-publicized addiction and mental health issues, he later gained addiction and mental health issues. Oh, Lord. Is that really what they're calling it? Is that what the kids are calling it these days? He later gained mainstream attention with the cover of Taylor Swift's 1989 album released through his own Pax Am label. Okay. Adams was an early adopter in communicating directly with listeners, responding to fans and critics on MySpace and then Twitter and Instagram. He also used social media to scout and meet artists. It was weird flex, but okay. It was on Twitter that he found Ava, who excitedly messaged him to say hello after she followed him, and he followed her back. I was really alone, Ava said in an interview, and he was really friendly and cool. She had been a gifted bassist since the age of 9. By 12, she was road tripping with her family to Manhattan for gigs with established musicians. At home, however, Ava was isolated, homeschooled because of bullying. At 13, her father died. I've heard of this before. When Christina Aguilera was teeny tiny, she had terrible problems at school because like other kids just hated her, and I think it contributes to her personality as it is now, for sure. Anyway, Adams represented the creative future she dreamed of. The star floated big ideas around her career prospects and the earliest messages, eventually suggesting that she and another teenager start a band that he could produce. Their conversations were on and off, but constant theme was Adams fretting about Ava's age and asking to keep their exchanges secret while also indulging in sexual scenarios. I never see pics of you anymore, Adams wrote in November 2014 when he had just turned 40 and Ava was newly 16. You were blowing my mind. He had pet names for her body parts. Days later, Adams expressed anxiety. If people knew they would say I was like R. Kelly, LOL, he wrote. LOL. We're LOLing after comparing ourselves to R. Kelly. 2019. What a time to be alive. Yeah, within 10 minutes of conversation again turned explicit. I just want you to touch your nipple, he texted, before asking about her age and tell me that your mom is not going to kill me if she finds out we even text. Grooming. This is how pedophiles groom children. In response to Adams' repeated pleas that she tell him she was 18, you have to convince me, he wrote. Ava at times said that she was. Sometimes she asked to see identification in the hottest way that has ever been done. LOL. She never showed him any ID. Adams, through his lawyers, said that while he has communications online with various fans and aspiring musicians, he does not recall having online communications with anyone related to anything outside of music. The lawyer added that, in fact, this woman was underage. Mr. Adams was unaware. He pointed to her performances in clubs and provided photos of Ava from that time, saying that she looked approximately 20. Well, there's also 3,200 text messages that would say otherwise, Mr. Lawyer, but okay, sure. Argue your way out of that, paper bag. Laws regarding explicit digital communication with a minor vary from state to state and are separate from age of consent laws, which encompass physical contact. In Ohio, where Ava lived, it is a felony to solicit, exchange, or possess any material that shows a person under 18 engaging in sexual activity. We all know that. There's child porn laws everywhere, obviously. New York, where Adams was during some of these exchanges, has similar laws regarding children younger than 17, and federal statutes use 18 as the age of adulthood. We also all know this. Several legal experts said that prosecuting such cases could involve disputes over jurisdiction and whether the adult reasonably believed the minor was a legal age, taking into account a context of their conversations. Ava said that her communication with Adams went on. She grew uneasy about their unequal dynamic. Once she said the two agreed to video chat, but they connected on Skype. Adams was already naked. It was just sexual power. Ew. That's so gross. As their relationship waned, Adams returned to the possibility of recording together, but for Ava, the idea she would be objectified or have to sleep with people to get ahead just totally put me off of the whole idea. Of being a musician, she said she never played another gig. Oh, baby. All right, so it just goes and it just goes and goes and goes and goes and goes. This is a crazy long one, but I wanted to get through that situation, this situation with Ava. But this article keeps going, but we're already at almost 45-minute show. So, and I already told you the juiciest bits. You already know, and you can go read the Times article by yourself. But, tell you what, man, this town is nuts. It's absolutely nuts. But, anywhere in that article, you can see the seeds of what I told you about him, but they're not using, really, really plain language about it. And that's what happens on almost all of these situations. Is that the media says they just gloss over really pertinent information or make it sound one way when it's another way. It's a mess. It's absolutely a mess, and I can't stand it. So we will continue to spill tea here on No Filter Friday on Public House Media. Because there's a never-ending supply of tea to spill. So we're going to have to keep going, basically. But that is more than enough for this week, even though I really, really wanted to tweet about it and stuff. I may have tweeted Ryan Adams a few times, but I didn't. I'm not trying to get blocked yet. So, until the shenanigans of next week, check out other shows on Public House Media, like Coffee with Keith and Katie, Crowned and Dangerous, Choose to Rise, or the hot Public House Media news of the day is the new show CJ and Cell is number 85 in the US for podcasts, which is crazy. So congratulations to them. So I haven't heard the show, but obviously other people have, and they clearly like it. So go check out CJ and Cell. It's probably your jam. And I'm going to link to Kate's podcast, Date Fails, somewhere in the post so you can go listen to this episode too, because it's juicy. It is juicy. I tell you what. So I will see you all next week. See you later, kids.